Today I'm going to be looking at the world's first design AI agent tool, which you can kind of think of as a designer on your team with you playing the role of creative director. Now they claim to be able to do everything from brand identity to marketing graphics and illustration, and today I want to see if I can design a $10,000 brand identity in less than an hour using Lovart. If you don't know me, my name is Chris, and for the last 15 years I've been designing apps and advising startups on product and design, and I believe the next wave of incredible businesses are going to be built using these AI tools. And so with that said, let's jump straight into Lovart and see what it can do.
Build great product. Build great product.
So can you create a $10,000 brand identity in under an hour by using AI? To do this, I'm going to show you this new tool that I've got an exclusive invite for so I can show you guys. It's called Lovart, and it is the first design AI agent tool. And this is supposed to be an AI agent that creates by your side. It kind of helps you create assets. And I want to go through the landing page quickly because some of the use cases for this and some of the examples are pretty wild of what it can actually create. Let's have a look at the video here of what it can do. So this is the world's first AI design agent. You can see here it's pulling together brand identities, posters, graphic design, conceptual design, all of that sort of stuff, all under this AI agent workflow, which pulls together all of these different tools to kind of create creative output for your business, for your creative needs. So it'll kind of put together a plan for your design brief, for your project, give you inspiration and kind of work through all of these different things with you. Let's have a look at some of the use cases down here are pretty kind of crazy. So brand identity design for a pet brand, this product design for a tennis ball bag, graphic design, posters in different style, artwork, illustration. It claims to do all of these things just with one AI agent. So we're going to get stuck into Lovart, sign in and see what it can do. If you want to join the waitlist, just go to lovart.ai and you can sign up to get access to this. So when you first get into Lovart, here is what you're presented with. It's the beta in the top left. You have this pretty familiar like chat box at the top that you can send a prompt to. So if you're creating like a one-off thing, then you can just create something this way. But what I want to get into, so you've got all the examples down here, which is pretty crazy, like some of the stuff that it has been able to come up with. So today I want to try and put together a brand identity for a fictitious AI mental wellbeing journaling app, which I've also used on another video where I create a waitlist landing page in under 30 minutes using Lovable. So let's create a fictitious brand identity for this app and see how it works. So the thing that I want to test today, because I know when you come into projects and you create a project here, so let's create a project. It's going to basically chat to me and go through what are we designing today. So what I'm going to put in here is I want to design a brand identity for an AI So I want to design a brand identity for an AI mental wellbeing journaling app called Kibibi, and let's see what it says. So the idea with AI agents in this sort of context is that the agent is going to go away, it's going to think about how to do this, it's going to come back with a plan, it's going to ask me what I think about different things as it goes as well, and then it's going to get me to kind of approve and review things as we go. So we might need to go back and forth over a longer period of time, and some of these tasks with AI agents take longer than it would do with a traditional LLM to get you a response, because it's more than just a one-off response. It's actually going and thinking a bit more deeply about this. It's searching across the web, it's finding different inspiration, it's putting together a list of tasks that it thinks needs to be done. So you can see here that it's sent me back a request which says, could you please confirm the industry category for your app? So I'm going to say it's in health and wellness. So this is really good UX here actually, and you can tell that this platform has been put together by designers, because one of my pet peeves with AI is that when things are happening, it doesn't often give you a good idea of how long it's going to take. This is actually going over the amount of time that this is supposed to take, but what's really good is it says estimated time 15 seconds. So you've got a countdown there to see how long it's going to take, but you also have a rough idea of how long it's going to take. So I know whether I stay here or whether I go off and do something else in that time. Okay, this is pretty cool. So by the way, I haven't experienced any of this yet. This is literally the first time of me using this tool, so you're getting like my full reaction to this and what I think of it as we go. But this is pretty cool. So it's pulled out some inspiration here. These look kind of in the right direction. I've got some ideas of where I want to go for this. I kind of want to go for these like soft, maybe a bit more vivid, like gradients with some textural elements, and more like some natural, like organic fonts, like in this third example here, but not with this like earthy background. And I assume that earlier in the chat I could have said, oh, I would like the theme, I would like it to feel like X, Y, and Z, or I'd like it to have these certain elements. So let's see what ChatGPT image comes back with, and it's useful here actually. It's showing me what AI model it's using. So I think one thing with AI tools that's really important is that element of transparency. So I can see how it's working, what models it's working with, so I can then have the context to kind of evaluate that output as I need to. And we've got the canvas on the left, and we can see it's pulled together like some examples here. So this is more like a design canvas. What have we got here? So it's given me like a summary of these logo options as well. Minimalist, intersecting circles, elegant serif, and the badge style. So I want to go for the elegant serif option. So let's just click on that. I know the direction that I want to go with this. I don't want it to be in capitals. I want it to be a bit more of a display font here, and I'd like the logo. I'm not a big fan of that logo mark above that. So let's click on this and see where it goes. Quick break in the episode to talk about my community for product builders who actually want to make a profit from what they're building. If you're building a product, whether that be a SaaS tool, a web app, an iOS app, or an Android app, and you actually want to make a profit, then this is the community for you. It's called the Product to Profit Academy. I'll be sharing courses, tutorials, tips, and all of my frameworks that I've learned over the last 15 years of working with startups and advising startups on product and design in my Products to Profit blueprint, so that you can benefit from everything that I've learned when you're building your product. So if you're building something and you actually want to make a profit from it, head over to buildgreatproducts.com/profit to sign up to the waitlist. We're launching soon. So you can see here it's generating brand assets using ChatGPT image here. I've developed a comprehensive visual identity for Kibibi. Now I'll generate the mockups according to the design plan. What I think I should have done here, and maybe what would be good actually, it says like which logo option do you prefer for your app. It might be good to have other questions here as well. So like, please add, like feel free to add any style, tips or direction or creative direction that you'd like to incorporate into this logo design. These are like okay as starting points, but I wouldn't expect it to then create a full brand identity like kit off the back of that. So let's see what it comes back with here. And I'm wondering, when I get all of this stuff back, can I prompt it like bigger changes, like, oh, I want to change the color palette for the entire brand identity, or oh, I want to change the logo mark to something completely different. For me, this feels like a little bit too, none of these feel quite right. This second one and this first one feel like something that you would see in like a pamphlet in a doctor's office, maybe. And then the second one here feels like an educational platform. And then the third one, maybe it would be for like a wellness journaling community, maybe. I want to communicate like more of a technology, sophisticated, luxury and premium kind of sense of calm and tranquility. That seems pretty loose, I know. Like all of this stuff is fluffy. Okay, so what have we got here? We've got a set of assets. They're pretty similar. So I'm wondering, now I'll create the remaining mockups for the Kibibi visual identity. Let's generate the application UI mockups, pattern design and stationery items to complete the brand identity package. Okay, so this is like doing the first few steps here. I'm going to ask it some more in-depth questions now once it comes back with this, because I really want to change the direction of this. And it would have been good to be able to do this before. It would be good to go through more steps of like iteration, actually. And that's maybe something that the agent models can like build in here. So let's see what it comes back with. Okay, so these are some really cool assets that it's come back with. Like this one is really nice. It's embedded it into like mock-ups for like business cards and paper like headers, social media template here, and like another social media template, and then like a mock-up of the UI for the app. Is still feeling a little bit like static and boring, and these feel like assets from maybe like 5 or 10 years ago that a designer might create for something. I want to try and go in here and make these a little bit more it says the current task has been completed, but my task really is like just starting here of like creating this brand identity. So let's see what we can do by adding some reference images, prompting it to go in a slightly different direction, changing the color palette, and then telling it like the applications that we want it to come up with, and see what happens. So I've pulled together a bit more of a detailed description of what I want out of this brand. This is a good starting point, but I feel like I really have a vision for like what I want. I'm going to also attach this image of the landing page that I designed on another video, which is really the direction that I want to go for this brand. And so let's attach that there. I've said I'd like the brand identity to go more in this direction as the attached image. Can you also do the fonts as Forum from Google Fonts with a tight letter spacing for headings, and DM Sans as the font for all other text in regular weight? I also want to create the logo using a more elegant display style serif font and remove the logo mark completely. The color palette I'm looking for is clean and white with splashes of vibrant blue, purple and yellow gradients. Can you show me what this would look like? So let's see what it comes back with off the back of this request. So you can see here it's looking at the image. This is good from a UX point of view, even if it's not actually doing this image analyzing. But what it looks like here is it's actually like, it's given me a description from the image. So it's like if you would put an image into ChatGPT and ask it to describe the style, it would come back as that. So you can see like the agentic nature of this by when it's going away and doing these different tasks, and it's giving you really clear feedback in the chat here of how it's doing that. I really think like this prompting kind of back and forth and like giving feedback in this agentic workflow is really where design and all of these kind of like knowledge and skill-based disciplines are going. And so it's really interesting to see the first kind of AI agent approach to design projects. This is like a complete paradigm shift from what you would see in Figma, where even with the announcements from Config, it's still very, very much and I'm editing, I'm controlling the design output, whereas this kind of like flips the script into I'm working back and forth with an agent here to actually collaborate on something. And I really think like that's almost the mindset shift that we need to take to AI software, is like, let's collaborate with it almost like you would a teammate, rather than just giving it tasks to do. That's where you're going to get the most benefit out of working with AI agent software. So here it's pulled out like one of the tasks is to generate the UI for the app. It's given me like, here we go. I don't think that's not actually the font that I want to use. It's not quite there. Yeah, so this is not quite there. It's a little bit closer. I don't need a UI mockup. This is kind of okay. What I want to do is I want to take like, this color palette's okay. So it's now generating me a brand guidelines. Again, I think this is maybe going a bit too far from what I want it to do. I kind of just asked to see an example of the brand with a different style and a different approach, and it's going off and generating me a full brand guidelines. So maybe I need to be more specific in my request. But let's see what it looks like. So just to cover off the workflow here a little bit with this product, if you click on any of these, you can actually add this to the chat as an attachment to start working with. You can edit this here and you can tell it what you would like to do to that specific asset. So I think what I need to do here, now that I'm starting to get something that's a little bit closer to what I want, I need to actually go in and prompt it for these individual things to change them. That might just be generating an image with ChatGPT. It seems like that's the majority of like what it's doing here, although there are some kind of like research pieces, and maybe I need to prompt that a little bit more. Here we go. Look at that. That is much more like what I was expecting. What I really want to do with the logo is to actually just take it to, I want to just tell it to use, I would tell it to use Forum from Google Fonts, but it looks like at the moment, I actually want to keep this logo here. So I'm going to say, let's use this, add this to chat and go update the logo across the branding to match this exact version of the logo. I'm going to say the word mark Kibibi, because I want it to be like specifically focused on this element. That's what I want to keep. So let's get it to do that. I really like this. This is pretty close to what I designed in my UI mock in Lovable for the app, to be honest. So this is a really good sign for this tool. It's asked me off the back of that request, could you be specific about the exact word mark for Kibibi that you'd like to use, because the image has abstract elements and isn't just necessarily the word. So sometimes with AI tools, they will just kind of go off and do whatever they think is right. It's like having a teammate that when you ask them something, if they don't understand it, they just go and try and do it anyway. And so what we want is someone that's going to have a back and forth with us and ask questions if they need to. And that's exactly what Lovart is doing here, which is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screenshot this. And I'm going to put that into the chat and say, please, can you do it exactly? The word mark that I want, the logo that I want is exactly this. This is the logo mark that I want to use across everything. So what I want to do next after it's done this is I'm going to choose like a couple of assets here. I'm going to use them in the chat, and then I'm going to use those assets to generate me some mock-ups of the app on a device and in a few other different applications as well. So maybe like a tote bag or some signage on a hoodie or a cap or a t-shirt. Okay, so this has come back here with basically a few different images, but they're all like different logos. The logo is different across all of them. So even though I uploaded the exact logo that I wanted, it's still generating stuff here using ChatGPT image that isn't familiar, that isn't using that exact same logo. So I think it needs to be, either I need to be kind of guided to being more specific with my request, or it needs to, I think overall, like the experience of kind of like going through this process, it needs to kind of better guide you through that process. It needs to create a better plan to start off with, tell you what the things that it's going to do, let you kind of critique that plan, and also give you more points of input in the inspiration phase, and actually start off with more exploratory kind of work around this if you're creating a brand identity. And maybe the agent's behavior needs to be different depending on the type of creative asset that you're trying to get out of this as well. So I'm actually going to go back and like go from I think I'm going to go from this one here. This is like, I feel like this is the closest that I've got to with like the background gradient and the mock-up on the device and the style of the app on the device and the color palette and the heading styles and everything that I want to use. I'm going to try and generate some creative applications using this. Also a prompt, some sort of a prompt enhancer in this chat would be really helpful as well, and a prompt enhancer based on the type of creative asset that I'm trying to output as well. So if I'm trying to do a brand identity, maybe the prompt enhancer needs to be set up in a way that it's going to enhance my request, like, and kind of frame it in the way that like an art director or a creative director would for a branding project. If I'm not a creative director, which 90% of people using this maybe won't be, especially if people start using this that aren't necessarily designers or creatives, then what I want help with is to be able to tell the agent in the best way possible what output I would like, to get the best creative output, to get the most professional looking output. So let's use this. I'm going to add that image into the chat, and I'm going to say, so what I'm going to ask it to do here is I'm going to ask, can you create a set of mockups for me using this exact branding for a website on a laptop mockup, a bus stop advert, a hoodie and a tote bag. I want them to feel luxury and premium while still maintaining the tranquil style. And I also want these to be shot using a high quality camera with cinematic lighting as if they were taken on a professional photo shoot. So I'm trying to give it a bit of context there around the type of creative output that I want as well. And as if like I was kind of organizing these assets to be created in real life. So let's send this off and see what it comes back with, using that image that I've attached there from the kind of examples that we've created here. Alright, so we've started to get like some mocks back here. It's really used the style that I've suggested really well. So this is just a really good tip for if you're using any sort of AI image generator or using Lovart to kind of create your images, is to tell it like what style you would like the output to be in terms of the format, like a professional photo shoot with a high quality camera and cinematic lighting. All of those things really help. These are looking super nice. So one thing that I want to do to make sure that we're trying to align with this idea of designing a $10,000 brand is actually to define what a $10,000 brand is. So for that, I want to go over to ChatGPT and I'm going to ask it what would be included in a $10,000 brand identity. So this is going to give us an idea of what we actually need to get if we are designing a $10,000 brand, and to see if we can do it with Lovart in under an hour, just to see what we can get. So here we go. We've got brand audit, stakeholder interviews, brand positioning, target audience profiles, tone of voice. So I think like this brand discovery and strategy piece, you would need to use another tool for that. So you would want to you could definitely use Manus, or you could use Suna from Cortex to set up agents that are going to go away and do this research. What I will do here is I want to go back into Lovart and I want to say like, I want to ask it to do like some competitor analysis to see, and I'll turn on the search, I'll turn on the web search option here, and I'll see if it can go away and pull through some references of other brands in this space to give me an idea of what other branding looks like in this market, in this industry. Visual identity, logo design, so we've got that. Typography, we kind of got that. Color palette, we've kind of got that. It needs to be fleshed out in a lot more detail. Supporting visuals, we kind of have that. What we'd need to do off the back of this is go into more of the detail under each of these requirements. We could actually copy and paste all these requirements into Lovart and see what it comes back with. Brand guidelines, a logo usage. You could probably prompt all of this stuff in Lovart, but it seems like Lovart is really just using ChatGPT quite heavily to like create these assets. And I would maybe look to use another tool like Gamma here to put this brand book, this brand guidelines together. Collateral design, so yeah, this is all the things that we're doing here, like the hoodie, the business card, the mock-ups, the website, social media assets. File delivery, it's not going to give us that in these things. We're going to have to go and do some of this manually in these tools to actually get this output. And then project management and revisions, obviously Lovart isn't going to do this, but we could include that as part of the service. Optional add-ons, website design, so we've kind of got that here a little bit. So I think Lovart can't give me the full $10,000 brand. What it can do is it can help me with the bulk of the creative work up front for creating the $10,000 brand. So I'm just going to ask it to do that market and industry research just to see if we can get it to go away and pull back other examples in, because then we can use this AI agent inside Lovart as a bit of a research tool as well. There's plenty of other options. Like I said, you could easily use Manus for all of these research kind of tasks. But if I can do it all in this one place, and especially if it's more visual, if it can pull me back more visual references, then that would be amazing. So I've just asked it to go and find other examples of brands in this industry and show me some references of their brand style and identity to see if Kibibi is differentiated enough. This ties into that strategy work for branding, which can significantly increase the price of a branding project, because you're actually doing strategic analysis of the brand and the tone of voice and how it fits in the market, as well as just the visual identity. And that is a huge part of successful branding projects, is that strategy piece. So can we do that strategy piece inside Lovart as well? So what it's doing here from this request is it's generating a ChatGPT image as a brand comparison. Hopefully this is going to use and it's found some inspiration from this industry around other brands in this space. If I click on these, I can look at them in more detail as well. So I can actually see here, based on these, I think my brand is like significantly differentiated. These are all very like flat colors, solid colors. I would want to do some more deeper research here. So I don't think this is particularly good for deep research into this, and I would definitely go to another tool. I don't really find any value in this like image that is generated here. I don't really know what Calm Space, Bloom and Mindful are and why it's done that. It's given me a bit of a report here, which would be, again, maybe nice to have like a more detailed report of this. It's given me a report of what brands in this space use. So soft pastel colors. So I've got a bit more of a vibrant color palette, so that's differentiated. Rounded organic shapes, leaves and sprouts. I'm doing something different to that there. Friendly, approachable sans serif. I've gone for something that's serif and a bit more traditional and characterful. So that is definitely differentiated. Playful, casual aesthetics with emoji-like elements. So this is a bit more of a serious approach that I've got here. So it's differentiated enough in the industry. I think it's still like really early on in this process of brand development. What I want to do next off the back of this is just to create a couple more variations of these to tweak these. So let's see what happens when I try and edit like an individual image. So I've just said I'd like to change this to just focus on the headline, transform your inner dialogue. I want to remove any other text. You probably want a call to action on this, but I just want to see if this can do it by like removing the logo and removing the other text and just focusing on that headline. And I also want it to do 2 variations of this for me from this image, so let's see what it can do. Okay, so it seems like the inline edit just does it once and it does it on that image. I didn't actually know that that was going to replace my previous image that I had here, so I would have duplicated that had I known and kept the previous one. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a few more mock-ups, maybe a few more graphic design elements, so just like the logo on the gradient background by itself. Another thing that I've noticed you can do here before I just finish up is a brush selection edit, so you can actually go in here and I can brush this logo here, and then I can make an edit to this image just in that selection and say replace the logo with the tagline. Okay, so we've got a few more assets on here. I use this as a reference to create a few more. So you've got it on a cap and a business card and this poster, which is not great. So I don't like the poster, but it's really good at like maintaining that same style. And I think because it's using GPT image, one of the things that GPT image is really good at is using a reference. I do think like you have to learn, as with any of these AI tools, you have to learn it. So you have to learn how are you supposed to prompt it and what's going to work best within the tool so that you're going to get the best output. And I think part of incorporating these tools into your workflow is really starting to learn the nuances of each of them so that you can get the best output. There's a couple more features worth mentioning here as well. So if you do click on the image, you get these other tools at the top. So you do get upscale, so you can upscale the quality of the image. You get outpaint, so you can extend the image. Remove background, remover, so you can remove specific elements from the image. In paint, so you can kind of like fill in with additional detail, and then smudge, so you can kind of blur some of these elements as well. So you are getting creative tools within this, which I think will have a lot of applications across different types of creative, and definitely when you're like pulling together these final assets to kind of pitch or present back to clients. But it's still a beta product, so I appreciate like there's a ton of stuff going on here that you can do, and this is already like so good from a creative inspiration standpoint anyway. So I keep trying to prompt like Lovart to give me like the more detailed version of the assets, but it keeps on kind of failing in these really specific requests. So I do think like there's a limit at the moment with the agent as to how far you can go with creating the brand identity. It will give you like a really good starting point and initial inspiration, but once you get into these more detailed and more nuanced changes, I do think you're going to need to like take this out into an external tool. It's really, really good for a few specific use cases. These 4 kind of images that I've created are a really good starting point for like a direction for a brand. And so this would be great to have at like the beginning of a project, in that creative inspiration phase, when you're trying to figure out the brand direction. To actually put all of these images together yourself would be hugely time consuming. And so just to get that output like very, very quickly, to get a snapshot of what it looks like, gives you so much more capacity for exploring ideas than you would have if you were doing this all manually. So with that said, I'm going to stop there and I'm going to jump into my final thoughts and also go through some key insights from this, whether it can create a $10,000 brand in under an hour, and should you use this product or not. So can Lovart actually design a $10,000 brand identity? I think at the moment it's in beta, and the answer to that is probably no. But you can see the power of it for that creative inspiration phase, and I really think that it's got kind of 2 or 3 clear use cases here. Number one is for creating those first set of ideas to kind of present and pitch back to clients, and for kind of working with you collaboratively to come up with ideas and explore kind of creative directions that you might not necessarily have thought of. The second use case that I think is really clear here is if you want to create a professional kind of good enough looking brand identity, if you're launching a business or if you're launching a new product, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, it can really get you to that really high quality kind of polished finish without needing all of the tiny details that would go into like a full brand strategy and brand identity project that you would get from a designer. The third use case that I can kind of see here is for rapidly creating mock-ups and visuals off the back of a finalized visual identity that you might have. And so if you already have a brand identity, or you've created that kind of brand guidelines and that brand identity family, is to kind of put that into Lovart and use that as inspiration to feed into the creative assets that you're creating, whether that might be illustrations or marketing graphics. And I would really love to see in the platform a higher integration for my existing creative assets. If there was a place in the platform where I could upload all my creative assets, train Lovart on my brand identity, and then use that to create a bunch of other assets off the back of that, I think that would be super useful. But from where it is now, this is already a crazy powerful tool, and this is beyond anything that you would have even thought possible even a year ago from AI. Output is incredibly high quality, and it's only going to get better and better over time. And so I feel like more and more of these tools are allowing more and more people to kind of become designers, but not only that, they're also empowering designers to create better output and be in more of that creative director role, rather than just kind of pushing pixels around and typing out things and creating assets. You can kind of think more broadly about strategy and why you're creating what you're creating. And if you use this alongside other agent tools like Manus, then you can really see how you can pull together that complete package of a $10,000 or even more brand identity with research, creative assets, creative inspiration, visual output, image editing, all in a matter of days instead of months. And so would I use Lovart? I think absolutely yes. It's an amazingly powerful tool, and if you're starting a business or if you're working on brand identity projects, I would massively encourage you to check it out. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can sign up to my newsletter over at buildgreatproducts.com to get new insight on building products every single week, along with the latest AI tools. And with that said, thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Build great products. Build great products.